Hey there, and welcome to Smart Social Secrets Tips. I am going to be talking today about something that's very near and dear to my heart, actually. I don't talk about it a whole lot, but I've had a couple of people ask me some questions. One of the big one was last week we had a brand building workshop for my Smart Social Mastery lead up. This week we've just launched Smart Social Mastery again. That is a group of people that get together. It's a paid membership, and I train and really coach these very high level communicators to start to come into their own visibility and come out and do their own thing. So that is what we did last week. We did a brand voice workshop just to kind of give people a feel for what that is. By the way, if you're interested in something like that, just DM me or leave a comment, and I'll definitely let you know what's going on with that in the in DMs and the back end. But today I really want to talk about what happened after that. Somebody came to me afterwards and said, "Why do you do this? Like, why do you give away so much free information? Like, I've been to a lot of these types of workshops, and they give us a little bit, but they don't really like get us to the point where we can actually implement something ourselves." And one of the things that I've heard a lot of gurus talk about is don't give away too much because then people won't pay for your paid products. And that may be somewhat true because there's a little psychological piece to that where, if you leave a little piece out, then people are like wanting more. But the reason that I don't exactly do it that way and is because of some things I've learned in my career. So just kind of following that back, I've done this for a long time. I started in 2005 with my blog that I continue to run today on zoeticamedia.com/blog. So if you go there, you'll see that every time I do a live stream, we do a really cool recap afterwards. That is a really helpful resource if you're interested in more of this type of content. But one of the things that I had been asked very early on about this was, why do you give so much away? Why do you give so much away? And one of the things that I think is really kind of scary whenever you're out in the world that we're in the communications world, is that things kind of move fast. There's a lot of things going on. You can feel like you're getting left behind. You can feel like you're maybe like your peers are doing more than you are. There's just a lot of like FOMO, fear of missing out, and feelings of that you are that you just aren't keeping up. And so one of the things that I tried to do early on is to learn and teach. So I would learn something and I'd teach it pretty quickly after I learned it. Like as soon as I felt like I was getting a handle on it, I would teach it. Learn, teach, learn, teach. And what this does for you is that it actually cements it in your own brain. Teaching somebody else is so powerful. And so what I learned early on was that. Also early on in the blogging journey that I was on, I learned that everybody was kind of jockeying for eyeballs and people to come read their stuff, just like social media is today. We were jockeying for it back then too. But what I learned was that the more that I actually helped my fellow bloggers in my community to be seen and heard, and I'd share their stuff, guess what happened? There was a reciprocal part of that. So one of the things that I immediately learned from that is that the law of reciprocation is so strong with most people. If you are giving, then people want to give in return. That is not why I give, but I found that that was true. And that just changed my mindset. It just made me understand that there was enough for everyone. And here's the thing, even if I lost out on a contract, because I have an agency, right? So even if I lost out on a contract that somebody else got, I started to believe and understand that that was how it was meant to be. Now, along the way, let me just tell you, there have been people and situations that I feel where I would say people have, stabbed me in the back. Absolutely. Has anybody ever made me feel like they were doing something to help me, but the truth is that they weren't? Um, yeah, that's happened as well. I'm actually going to change my mic.
Let me give you that real quick. I bet you this sounds better, doesn't it? Anyway, so that is what I did. I just realized very much so that by lifting other people up, you get what you receive. Okay, and so first of all, that's really the thing that changed my mind, was just understanding that it was all about the community. It was all about growth. And guess what? I've leaned into that community thing. Started social media breakfast when I came to Houston. Why did I do that? Because I'd learned that community was the way to go, and I didn't know anybody in Houston. So what did I do? I started social media breakfast with Jennifer Tejada. And guess what? I had a connection. And that, by the way, we're about to celebrate 15 years of the social media breakfast next month in May. And so we're going to have a big party. We'll have an online stream, but we'll also have a big party here in Houston. So if you're in Houston, put that on your calendar. Second Friday in Houston. It's in the morning. Next week we're going to have put that on your calendar too, especially if you've ever wanted to write a book. Okay, so that's really it. Is that understanding that we are going to connect as people. By the way, I'm going to look at my comments here. I haven't been paying attention, but if you're here, I see that people are watching. Let me know you're here. I would love to know you're here. So let me know you're here. Okay, so here's the 3 things I wrote down. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget this. So, our first propensity, and mine is too, I'm a human being like anybody else, is to compare ourselves to somebody else. Our first inclination is to compare ourselves to other people, how well they're doing, how busy their live streams are, how everything, right? We want to compare ourselves to somebody else. Here's the problem with comparison. Comparisonitis is what I like to call it. Number one, when you compare yourself to somebody else, that only elicits fear. That is going to bring the feeling of fear into your world. And then you will do everything, all of your tactics and strategies and everything that comes out of that comes out of fear. And fear is a huge motivator. I'm not saying that it isn't. When I was in college, I was really in trouble kind of early on because my parents had moved away and I didn't have really any place to live. And I had like this huge fear motivation that I'd be living on the streets, right? And so I went out and I did whatever it took and whatever was necessary to get myself put together. So I'm not saying fear is always a bad motivator. I think sometimes it can help you to do the right things. But if you operate out of fear all the time, especially when it comes to building a business or building your career or building your brand online, you are going to make decisions that sometimes are not the right decisions. And that, I think, is the problem. And also there's that stress and cortisol and all of the things that go with that. And I just decided that was not for me. Like, it really put me in a bad mind space to be in that comparitis kind of space where I'm comparing myself to everyone else. And I am worried about, like, am I ever going to make it here, there, and whatever. And so what I've tried to do is enjoy the journey along the way and the people that are willing to take it with me. So if you're here watching this right now, you're kind of one of my people that are willing to take this journey with me. And I'm so proud of my community. I'm so happy with the people that I'm connected with because of that. So comparinitis is going to kill you. Number one, it's going to put you into a state of fear, and then you will operate and often make decisions that aren't the best ones to move forward. So that being said, I want you to banish your fear as far as it goes with comparing yourself to others and worrying about, like, whether you're, like, measuring up to your peers. So I've had people say to me things like, you're so amazing, you're always everywhere, you're here, you're there. Like, how do you do all this? And I'm like, this is the thing. I do what I can do. So I only do this one live stream per week, roughly. And I put that together and then I use that to leverage it out to do things that I can do. So that's all I can do. But I have friends that come on here and do 3, 4, 5 live streams a week. I have people that do other things like that. And I can't do that. So I don't worry that I can't keep up with them. Because here's the thing, I know that if I keep putting out into the universe, if you want to call it that, what I can offer to people, then I will attract the right people, the people that I need to attract. And by doing what I'm doing now, which is telling you what my goals are, I often tell people what my goals are here. And guess what? I have people come back to me and let me know, oh, hey, I know somebody who can help you with this. Or, hey, I have a potential client for you, that because it sounds like you're doing something in this area. Or I've been talking about AI a lot lately. I'm working really hard right now on taking AI, artificial intelligence, and not being afraid of it and using it to put together workflows for clients. Like, how can we use this as a workflow that enhances the human behavior rather than replaces human behavior? I have not gotten rid of my writers. I have not gotten rid of my design people, and I probably won't, but they may have different types of tasks moving forward. So my point is that I try not to operate out of a state of fear and confusion, and that is something that helps me stay sane. I don't know. I don't know if you're with me. Is anybody with me here? Do you feel this way ever? Like, do you just feel like you're trying to keep up so hard, and then, you go and you're just like, I'm not going to be sane if I'm like operating out of this state of fear all the time. Anyway, so banish the fear. That's really the first thing. And when you banish the fear and you just start to put out the positive things that you're working on, that you're thinking of, and you start to share them without fear of like, oh, I can't tell you my secret sauce. Yeah, I have a lot of like processes that I use. And guess what? If you stole my processes, you're not me still. If people are stealing my processes, and I'm sure they have, I'm sure there's people out there using the processes to win clients. Should I worry about that? No, I need to worry about what I need to bring in and who I need to do and how I grow this agency. And so, and how I can help my clients to do the best that they can do. So that is my focus, like a laser focus, is I just banish that fear and then I work on attracting the people that I need to attract. And guess what? Then I'm going to also repel people. There's people that are not going to love the fact that, by the way, there's a typo. And I know that. Somebody, thank you, by the way. Terry told me that I had a typo in today's graphic. And guess what? Afterwards, I will go change it. But guess what? I don't worry about that because I will, okay, I'll repair the grammar not snobs. Okay, fine. If I'm going to repel you because of that, then we aren't meant to be together. We aren't meant to work together. We aren't meant to have that relationship. And I do find that all of this is a relationship because we are building something together. Whether it's me with my clients or me with the audience for these live streams where I'm trying to like share the things that I've learned over a almost 30-year career now, believe it or not. um, I mean, it is 30 years. Geez Louise. Anyway, I've had a 30-year career. My mind just blew. Anyway, in May, I also will be 30 years in my career because I graduated in 1994 from college. So the bottom line is that we are working together and I want to share what I've learned. And I also don't want to worry about that. Okay, so banish the fear, attract and repel, and don't worry about who you repel because you will repel people if you have a message. If you have a message, you will repel some people. Some people will be like, nope, it's all about the competition. We need to like kill the competition, kill the You're not for me. I'm not for you because I'm not the kill the competition girl. That's it. I'm just not. All right, cool. And then the last thing I wanted to really talk about was social media. And I love social media because I still remember when it was coming to be, and of course, at first it was all blogs, right? Everybody had a blog, everybody had a blog. And so I thought, well, I need to get a blog, right? Or should I get a blog? And the thing that kind of brought me over to putting together a blog was that I moved from Washington, D.C. to San Antonio, Texas. Hey, my San Antonio people. I'm now in Houston. I love Houston so much, but San Antonio was my first love in Texas. And I moved to San Antonio and knew no one. And I really felt like I was isolated, alone, and everybody was blogging, but I didn't ever want to blog about my life. Like I couldn't imagine getting up every morning and blogging about my life and what I ate and, my kids. And I don't blog about that, but I love strategy. I love public relations, which is what I came from. So I started to think about the intersection between public relations and this new world online, community stuff. And so blogging at the time. And so I started to write about that. And I still remember that first post, how scared I was to put my opinion online. I just really was like terrified to put my opinion online because I'd grown up in PR. And in PR, we always learned that if you become the story, you've failed. Right. And I'm like, what? I'm going to talk about myself. And I really resisted the idea of, really building a personal brand. I'm like, well, your personal brand is just your reputation. Like you have a reputation. Like I don't have to I mean, I build my reputation by having, doing the things I say I'm going to do, working with people, right? So I really had this negativity against personal branding. Now, obviously, personal brand, I didn't win that war. I did not win that war. Obviously, everybody has a personal brand these days, and you kind of have to have some kind of personal brand, if you will, to really have an edge on things, edge in the marketplace and have people hear you. So, okay, I call it personal branding now, but I still think of it like, how do we build our reputation? How do we build our reputation? And we build our reputation by becoming known for our expertise. And so that's really where I came from with the blogging. And that is where I learned that community was key. So I started to blog and I was writing and writing, and no, of course, nobody was reading it. And I got no comments. Back then, it was all about the comments on the blog post. And by the way, it's all about the comments again now. Like all of the social media networks, but especially LinkedIn, loves the comments. They want you to be commenting to each other, not fake, you know, AI generated comments. I've seen some tools that will do that for you now. And I'm like, that's just misses the point. It completely misses the point, which is that you're to build relationships with people, not to comment at scale so that you game the algorithm. I mean, that's super fun and all, but the algorithm will figure you out. What I've learned is that everything that you do to game the algorithm works for, maybe a small period of time, and then they penalize you really badly for it. So don't do that. The whole purpose of that is to build the community. So what I learned is that I went to all of the different blogs of my fellow PR professionals. Shout out to people like Shell Israel, all my shells, and other people that I was really close to during that time. There's just so many. Jay Bear. I'm just thinking I'm going to miss people, so I'm going to shut up now. But there's just so many of them. Anne Hanley. But as I think of them, I'll throw them out. Anyway, just so many friends that I've met through this process over the years. But what I learned is that by going to their blogs, reading what they wrote that day, and actually thinking about it and how it would apply to me, and then leaving them a comment about how I was going to use it, what I was thinking, what else could we be thinking about on that, and adding value to somebody else's thoughts. That is how I built my entire career as a consultant. 100% built my entire career by commenting on other people's blogs. And then guess what happened? Then, because I was commenting there, we became closer and they were interested in my thoughts too. I started to get comments as well, but not until I spent a lot of time commenting on other people's stuff. It took me a very long time, but that's true. And also, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about LinkedIn and how important it is for comments. So you can go back in my LinkedIn posts, or you can click on the my bio anywhere, which is camichat.com. And you can just in my bio in any of the social media networks you're in, and you'll see that I have a link to my YouTube channel. Just go there and you can find it real quick there. But I talked about the new LinkedIn algorithm study, and guess what? It's all about comments. It's all about connections. I would love to hear that from you too. Like, how are you doing that? Do you resonate with this? By the way, if you resonate with this, say yes somewhere. Comment somewhere so I know you're doing this, so you're hearing me and you're agreeing with me, because here's the thing. What I learned was that social media is a team sport. Social media is a team sport. It is not about being out here on your own and trying to get the eyeballs for you and your content. You will get eyeballs for your content if you invest in other people. It's just the law of reciprocity. And I talked about that at the very beginning. The law of reciprocity. It's just, throw the bread on the water, the bread will come back to you. What you put out is what you're going to get back. It is that way in social media. It is that way in life. It is that way in business. I've had people compete with me at levels that are hard to understand. I can't really, I don't want to like out anybody because I've made friends with most of these people at this point, but I've had people that have stepped up and competed with me in some way, or you could see it as a competition, right? Where they did something that kind of edged into the market that I was in. And generally speaking, what I've done is reach out a hand to that person and say, "Hey, how can I help you? I see that you're doing something similar to what I'm doing. How can I help you to be successful?" And I've done this over and over and over again. And guess what? I've made so many amazing friends that way. Whereas I could have said, "Hey, that person is horning into my territory. Like, look what they're doing. They're like doing the same thing I did." I mean, I ran a social media um, influencer group for a well-known brand, and another well-known brand took my model and put it into their brand. And this other brand that took it from my idea, if you want to call it that, and implemented it, they are a very much bigger brand. And now they're known for all the years for being this, influencer mecca. And you would know the name of these people, and you would know the name of my client. But the point is that yes, okay, so I did that first, but that doesn't mean that, that isn't that's I mean, that's a compliment. Like, I really feel like imitation is complimentary. And I've gotten a lot of respect from other people for what I did during that time. So I feel like sometimes we up the ante so much. And usually in a marketplace, if something is working, other people are going to adopt it. And that's actually good for you. And it won't feel good for you at the time. It'll give you a little bit of pause sometimes. You'll have to come up with what your angle is versus what their angle is. But sometimes you can also work together to make all boats rise. Boop, 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 boop. So I just don't think of it as a competitive thing. And I know there's competition, like severe competition, and I'm not naive. Okay. I get it. I get it that there's like, especially in huge corporations, I think about huge corporations that go head to head to head and one wins and the other doesn't. I mean, there's people trying to, unseat Amazon right now. I mean, Temu, I don't know how you say it. The Chinese company is trying to do that a little bit. I mean, you can get really cheap stuff that you can get also on Amazon from Temu now, and I see the kids and people buying that. And you know what? They're trying to like erode the market share of Amazon. But my point is that how can Amazon become even more important for you? So there will be some pricing stuff that happens. So then where do you shift if something becomes a commodity? So commodity, I'll say that slower. So in our world today, we are as social media managers, especially from an agency perspective, this type of a service has become a little bit more of a commodity than it was several years ago. Several years ago, people just wanted to find somebody who understood it and how they could put it together. But now it's like, who can do it for the cheapest, right? So now, what do I do? How do I pivot myself a little bit for a different part of the market that maybe isn't on the low cost side? Maybe I do more strategy. For example, now I'm doing a lot more what you'd maybe call a fractional CMO type of a job, where I'm helping a company to come up with a strategy around their marketing plan and then going to market with that and helping to their teams to build capacity. So how can we help somebody else's team build capacity? How can we grow? Fractional CMO might be a cool place for me to be right now, especially since I have a PR background. I really understand reputation management, and I really understand community growth. So those are the kind of things that I'm doing to make this happen. So I would love to hear from you. I don't see any comments, but I see lots of eyeballs. So I would love to hear from you today about what you're doing, and what your fears might be. And if you're a competitor of mine, I would love to talk to you about how we can work together. So, always looking for people and partners and places to go with this. So, that is really it. I just wanted to talk about that particular piece because I don't know how often people really talk about that. So, comparison leads to fear, which I think leads to bad decisions. Um, so, I want you to banish your fear, attract the people you're supposed to attract, repel those that you need to repel, that just don't fit you for whatever reason, and remember that social media and being successful on social media is a team sport. It's a team sport. You have to grow a community for it to be successful. And brands, listen up, because this is super important for a brand. We have gotten so used to announcing things and telling people when things are coming up as a brand. We have not delved into how do we connect with our customer in a way where they want to share us with their friends. So I know we've talked about this back and forth over the years, but the idea with social media is that we need to actually spend time on other people's accounts. And I know it's time intensive. It's how you do it. There's just a lot of like strategy in that. But mostly it's time intensive. So you have to block your time. One of the things that I have up here, and I'm going to actually put it up for you, is if you have not downloaded this for me yet, I have a really, really cool resource called the 2x2 Magic Connect. And it's just a 20-minute a day strategy for you to grow your social media channels. And you can use it on any social media channel. It really does work almost on anyone. You may have to like slightly, adapt what kind of content you share on different channels. Obviously, it doesn't go into that much depth, but you go to bit.ly /SSS capital C Connect. So it's cap sensitive. So 3 capital S's, a capital C, and then in the word connect. Go there and make sure you grab this resource because this resource will help you to put this on repeat, especially in a way that is sustainable. And even if you work for a company, even if you're inside PR or inside marketing, I would suggest you do this for your own self, because guess what? You might have to work somewhere else. You might have to grow your network. You may need a bigger network in order to make sure that what you're doing with your job actually is successful. So just make sure you're doing this on a regular basis. It takes about 15 minutes a day. I suggest doing it 5 days a week, taking the weekends off, or if you want to do the weekends, that's up to you. But I personally, like save that for my family. So this is the SSS Connect, and it's been around for a long time. I was looking at it the other day. I think I created this idea in 2021. But the funny part is this is exactly the same thing that I did with the blogging thing way back in 2005. This is a timeless principle, and it works, and it will probably continue working forever because it's all about the people that you build connections with. All right, cool. So that, my friends, is all for today. I hope you have an amazing day, and let me know if you have any questions. I would love, love, love to answer them. And yeah, let's keep in touch, because that is absolutely the way that I see things. Is I feel like that together we do better. And competing and compare-itis, let me say it again. Competing and compare-itis are the death of actual growth, in my opinion, because you just go back into your own head, you isolate yourself, you don't connect with other people because there's just that fear that somebody's going to take over where you left off. And I know it can be very scary when somebody jumps into the space that you've kind of owned for a little bit, or you see somebody who jumped into a space and you're like, I should have jumped into that space. And oh, by the way, I know more than they do. Why are they getting all the eyeballs? All of that stuff is important, because here's the bottom line. It's really the strength of your community over the strength of your knowledge, because the knowledge that you bring to something, there's always going to be somebody who's smarter. Always. There's always going to be somebody who's smarter than you, smarter than me. It's just how it is. But there's only one you, and there's only one you that brings a specific viewpoint to something and the experiences that you've had. So we need all of us. We need all of us to do that. And so I need you just as much as you need me. And I really appreciate you if you spent this much time with me today. I super, super appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing day. And yeah, let's work together. Let's talk soon. Bye.